Have you ever wondered if it would be feasible to transport 100 million people across the Atlantic in the 17th to 19th centuries? A question that might seem bizarre, but it's been proposed that this vast number of Africans were transported to the Americas during the Atlantic slave trade. Now let's put this into perspective. Imagine a voyage from Africa to the Americas on a sailboat designed for the 17th century, not a modern-day mechanized ship. Picture trying to squeeze 300 passengers into the bottom of this vessel with limited resources like food and fresh water. Consider the journey's length, typically 2 grueling months. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? But the question remains, could such a massive displacement of people under these horrendous conditions even be possible? We're about to delve into the numbers, break down the mathematics of this proposition, and see just how absurd this idea really is. Let's dive into the math to see how absurd this idea really is. Imagine a ship from the 17th century, capable of carrying around 300 people at a time. How many voyages would it take to transport 100 million people? Let's dive into the numbers and see how they unfold. To transport 100 million people, with each ship carrying 300, we would need approximately 333,333 voyages. That's a staggering number, isn't it? Now let's consider the time. The average voyage across the Atlantic during the 17th and 18th centuries took around 2 months. If we presume that a ship could make 6 voyages a year, this would mean that each ship could transport about 1,800 people annually. So how many years would it take to transport 100 million people? With one ship, it would take a mind-boggling 55,555 years. Even if we had 1,000 ships making the crossing 6 times a year, it would still take over 55 years to transport 100 million people. And remember, this calculation doesn't take into account the time needed to load and unload passengers, maintenance and repair of the ships, or the very real possibility of ships being lost at sea. Furthermore, these calculations are based on the presumption that every single voyage would be at full capacity, which is unlikely given the harsh conditions on board, leading to high mortality rates. When we consider all these factors, we realize that the logistics of transporting such a massive number of people across the Atlantic, in the time frame, and with the technology of the 17th to early 19th centuries, seem implausible, to say the least. As you can see, the numbers simply don't add up. The sheer scale of this proposed operation goes beyond the realms of feasibility. It's a stark reminder that history is often more complex and nuanced than it first appears, and it's our responsibility to question, to dig deeper, and to strive for a more accurate understanding of the past. Now consider the logistical nightmare of storing enough fresh water and food for 300 passengers on a sailboat for 2 months. This isn't a simple feat, even with our modern technology, let alone in the 17th to 19th centuries. Imagine being packed like sardines in a tin, forced to live in unimaginable filth and squalor, with every breath a struggle against the stench of excrement and decay. The crammed conditions left no room for basic human dignity, let alone comfort. The lack of fresh water and food would have been a death sentence for many, with dehydration and starvation as constant companions. Disease would have spread like wildfire in such conditions, and without proper medical care, the death toll would rise rapidly. The bottom of a sailboat would become a floating tomb, a cruel testament to the inhumanity of the slave trade era. Surviving in such conditions for 2 months would be nothing short of a miracle. The term African American is a disrespectful misnomer, misnaming the American Aborigines. Let's delve into the rich tapestry of a history often overlooked. The American Negro Indian, the Aboriginal Negro of America, were here in the Americas, long before Columbus set his foot on these shores. They were the original autochthonous peoples, the true natives. Their footprints are etched deep into the soil of this land, spanning thousands of years, perhaps even millennia. Yet their heritage was seized, their birthright stolen. Europeans and Siberians, known today as Native Americans, conspired, making treaties to usurp the Aboriginal Americans' land and mineral rights. This grand deception gave birth to the United States of America as we know it. The Aboriginal Negro of America are not mere adjectives or crayon colors, but a proud nation of people. The American Aboriginal Negro are the rightful heirs to the land of the Americas, and they deserve recognition and restitution for their suffering.
screaming all over town. Go down Comanche. Hooray, that morning, hooray, hooray. Go down Comanche. Oh, go down Comanche on the way. Go down Comanche. For the boys, they coming from way uptown. Go down Comanche. For they rocking in the old sandpiper line. Go down.
Originie sounds. Bang bang receipt gang.